going on, everyone? My name's Henry from Ahead of the Curve 94. Thank you so much for tuning in today. On today's show, I'm here to talk to you about why Unbreakable is M. Night Shyamalan's greatest film. Even 25 years later, in my opinion, this is not up for debate at all. With that being said, cue the intro. Before we get into my notes and all that, let's read that plot synopsis. In Unbreakable, David Dunn, Bruce Willis, survives a train crash with no injuries, leading to the realization that he harbors superhuman abilities. As he begins to grapple with this discovery, he comes to the attention of disabled comic book store owner Elijah Price, Samuel Jackson, of course, who manipulates David to understand him. This one opens in a flashback. Of course, we don't know that at this point. We also don't know who any of these characters are. Charlene Woodley, who just gave birth in the back of some, I don't know, department store in the 60s. I don't know. Her actual character name is Mrs. Price, okay? So she had just given birth to Samuel Jackson's character. Immediately, I'm pulled in by just the camera work. Holds the camera on one person, and then he pans over to the next one. Conversation goes simple, but it's fucking tense here. Unfortunately, this is during, I assume either the 50s or the 60s. Hella racist times, right? So in comes a black doctor. This doctor comes in, he's all happy. He's like, "You did a good job, ma'am. Let me check the baby." Immediately, that handsome smile just fades away. He's like, "What the fuck y'all do to this baby?" Of course, everyone's defensive, like, nothing. The doctor delivers some horrible news. This baby's arms and legs are already broken. Oh shit. That one stings, okay? And then we just cut away.
Did you drop him?
What?
Did you drop this baby?
Jesus Christ, no.
It's amazing that, Elijah's neck wasn't broken. There's so many things that my mind took me to, especially back then. I probably saw this when I was like 7, 8 years old. So, it was like a year or two after it came out. Instantly, I was hooked in, though. And in my opinion, I don't think people praise this movie enough. I never understood the reputation this movie kind of garnered, especially early on. People labeled it as, boring. And for me, I never understood that shit, to be real with you. It was always a more subtle and, slow approach to superhero movies, but boring? Never. And while we're early on, I gotta talk about the score by James Newton Howard. Very iconic music. Dare I say, this could be my favorite part outside of cinematography. Not kidding, people. This shit, I wish I could play it in the background of this video. It goes so hard, but you know how the shit goes, okay? This video will get flagged or taken down and whatever. Who cares? There's only 5 people watching anyway. And now, people, we cut to Bruce Willis, who is here in present day, which is, 2000, of course. But in the year 2000, we cut to Bruce Willis on a train. And once again, I gotta praise the camera work here. We are seeing him from the perspective of this young child who's sitting in the row in front of him. Of course, she doesn't quite know what she's seeing, but we are able to detect a few things here. 1, that he's married. 2, he's interested in fucking around. And the third thing is he has no game. This man's been out of practice, okay? You might be asking yourself, why am I saying this? Well, here's the thing, people. He sees this one lady who has a little, stomach tattoo that he's just enthralled in. It gets creepy, okay? I mean, like, homie, have you seen flesh? Okay, calm down. It's like, damn, homie, at least try to be calm and smooth about this shit. But nope, he crashes and burns just like this motherfucking train. boom. Now let me tell you people, M. Night really knows how to work a budget here. Instead of some huge crash scene involving, millions of just dollars of damage to the city, some Avengers levels threat, instead of seeing all that, we see just the aftermath. It's news footage from the perspective of Joseph, David's son. And of course, M. Night Shyamalan. He loves to show people watching TVs or screens, especially back then, when we had those big TVs, or as I like to call them, the big booty TVs. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? You turn it around. And then we see Bruce Willis talking to a doctor, played by Michael Kelly. This guy is a character actor. You've probably seen him in something. He pops up everywhere, even today. The most recent thing I could think of is like in the 2023 Transformers film. He is telling David Dunn, that there's some really unfortunate news. Outside of Bruce Willis, who has no scratches, outside of that, Bruce Willis is the lone survivor. And this doctor you can kind of tell that he's freaking out a little bit. And I can't blame him either, people, because I'm kind of freaking out just from the way it's framed. At the bottom of a frame lies a man who is breathing hard. You see a wound in his chest that's just gradually excruciating blood. His labored breathing is getting worse. We see Bruce, he can't take his eyes off of this man who is just on the verge of breathing his last breath. The doctor's like, I don't know how to tell you this shit, man, but it don't make sense. After David's released from the doctor and he walks out, getting ready to leave the hospital, he walks into a hallway filled with just, the families of all the, non-survivors of this shit, and everyone's just staring at him all solemn and sad. They're probably thinking to themselves like, why him and not my relative? And then we properly get to meet Audrey, played by Robin Wright, and then his son Joseph, who I mentioned earlier. Clearly we can see that there's some tension in this marriage, and as if you didn't already know that based on what happened in the intro, this marriage is, it's on a bit of a rocky road. For example, later on we find out the whole reason he was on the train to begin with, this is not a twist, by the way. Calm down. He was on that train because he was heading to New York to find a new job because his marriage was ending and he was getting ready to move away. Yeah, someone leaves a note on his car and it reads, "How many times have you been sick?" If that was me, I'm a little bit of a psycho here. If that was me, I'm probably yelling out loud, just hoping that they will come out and expose themselves because what the fuck is this shit? This raises a really important question though. So much so that he has to ask the people at his job, like his boss, for example, how many sick days have I taken in the last 5 years that I worked here? People, this is a con because, nigga, don't you know how many times you've called off work? I could tell you now how many times I've called off work in the last 3 years. So I'm thinking to myself, you've been here 5 years, never gotten sick, never called off, and you don't know that. That's weird to me, dude. I would be using that to get a raise. He's like, all right, you know what? Sure, you never missed a day, David. We're giving you an extra $40 a week. How about that? Although I shit on that particular part, I did love David and Audrey discussing it. There was a cute little scene there. And also, I just want to point out, she is sleeping in a separate room. Every time you see David, Joseph's up his ass. So I love that he has to, knock on the door and wake her up in the middle of the night. And then they're both just a little perplexed. Good scene there. But now it's 1974. We cut to a younger, maybe preteen Elijah. And of course his mom, Mrs. Price. She's great, man. It's a shame she's not in this more, but hey, it is what it is. Always a goddamn highlight for me. This flashback is really important because it kind of explains a lot of what's going on in the present. This version of Elijah, this actor is great, okay? Selling the shit out of the pain that this character goes through. Apparently, the kids at school call him Mr. Glass because his bones break so easily. This kid is beaten the fuck down. So much so that his mom has to basically set up a elaborate plan just to get him outside. Across the street on a park bench in the middle of nowhere, I'm assuming also Philadelphia, so, kind of rough area. On the bench lies a bright purple present for Elijah. All he has to do is go out and get it. And that is a really great character moment, okay? Yes, it's something so simple as walk outside, pick it up. No, no, no. You would think that. There's so many more layers to this. Outside of his physical conditions, Elijah has a lot of internal issues as well. This is way before they understood, what being on the spectrum was and all the different forms of like autism, for example. And I love that the setup for that entire sequence before he even leaves the apartment, the scene is in a reflection from a TV. Classic M. Night. Classic. They say this one has a surprise ending. So now we cut to present day Elijah, who owns a store, art gallery if you will, called Limited Edition. How fitting. This man is so into his craft that he turns down a guaranteed sale of, I don't remember what it was, but some goddamn lump sum of figures. He turns it down because this buyer wants it for his kid, who's of course just gonna fucking tear it up. But Elijah, he has what's called integrity or whatever. He says, fuck that, no deal. It's like, dude, calm the fuck down. Once they buy it, it's not yours. I understand you want to preserve things, buddy, but some things are just out of your reach. What a great time for David Dunn and Joseph to walk in. And of course, they reflect on the huge incident that David just survived. Elijah is so goddamn curious about this man. David even mentions some horrible accident he went through as a teenager when he and Audrey got into some horrible car crash and, they barely got out alive or something. And I love that the camera just holds in on these two having a conversation that David doesn't want to particularly have. He's even worried for Joseph. I love that he's like, don't take another sip of that water. We don't know what the fuck's in it. I love that shit, okay? And the scene could honestly end there. But no, David has some shit he wants to say. I also love the kid's relationship with his dad. Now, for me particularly, I was more closer to my mother growing up. Their relationship is cute, okay? Until you realize, like, alright, I don't know, what's he like, 10, 12 maybe? I'm gonna need some goddamn space here, okay? At this point, you are too old to be sleeping in bed with me. He's literally just up his goddamn ass. And no, I don't like that. And like, if I ever have kids, which I don't know, it seems a little unlikely. If I do, I gotta, make sure that they know how to be themselves. We have this issue currently speaking between me and my boyfriend right now with our dog. He is so far up his ass that, my boyfriend can't really do shit unless he has to take all these drastic measures for the dog. I love my dog. I love him. But it's a lot. And, it's just one example. I guess all I'm really trying to say is give motherfuckers some space on both ends. Parents, kids, we all need time to grow. Robin Wright decides, I want to fix things. Great timing too, because we gotta get this little motherfucker the hell up out of here, okay? No, I need some ass. That's what David's thinking. We find out that David works as a security guard at the local stadium. While at work, Elijah decides to come there and try to mindfuck David. I love these two together. I wish they had more movies besides Pulp Fiction and Die Hard 3. I don't think there's any other ones. David ends up getting, I don't know, some type of intuition, if you will.
How'd you know that guy you bumped was carrying a weapon?
Got a picture of a silver gun with a black grip tucked in his pants. You know, like on TV.
It happens in a flash here, but that person has a gun, and he's very, very descriptive in his details. It's just weird. So of course Elijah hears that and he just hyper focuses. We see a glimpse of him in his creepy ass old people car. Looks like some shit from Psycho or Christine. I was like, what is this, brother, man? Come on now. Why y'all gotta do him like this? People, I'm not kidding. They got this brother in here looking like Frederick Douglass meets Cruella de Vil or some shit. Like, what is this car?
Its outlying districts.
One of my favorite scenes in the movie happens, okay? Elijah's chasing this random dude, you know, not super aggressively. The guy doesn't really seem to care that much, but Elijah, like, dude, stop yelling at him and just creep up on him or just act natural. Anyway, the important part comes when Elijah approaches a set of stairs. And of course, M. Night has to pull out the awesome camera work, and never in my life outside of John Wick Chapter 4, you know, I'm sorry, Rocky as well. Who could forget that? But this shit is shot so scarily. It's haunting. I'm gonna be real, okay? So, we know where this is going. Elijah eventually is gonna take a tumble. We need to see the threat. You know, we need to understand his plight, if you will. So, okay, here we go. One of the most painful falls and tumbles I've ever seen in a movie. And it's not played up too much. I mean, it's really subtle in the score, and camera work is insane. I mean, we really just focus in on Elijah's glass cane, gets quiet, and then he hits the ground. We hear the bones cracking. Oh, God. It's brutal. I gotta be real. So now we cut to David, who's lifting weights. Joseph's just watching in awe. It's like, yo, my dad's the strongest, or whatever cringy shit he's thinking. They progressively start adding more and more weights to keep testing his limits here. We find out that, yeah, David is crazy strong. And the kid is just doing some reckless shit here. Instead of taking off weights like he told his dad, he's fucking adding them, which is super dangerous, dude. If something went wrong, what then? What, you think you and mom are gonna lift those off in time? Good luck. Yeah, so the bitch ass kid is risking his dad's life over some fantasy bullshit. This shit is dangerous. It's almost as bad as the kid from the first Jack Frost movie. Not the Michael Keaton one. The evil killer snowman, that one. Also, Joseph, he's not wanted anywhere. There's one point where he's playing football with the local kids, and then, you know, he sees his dad, so he's like, all right, well, I'm just gonna follow you, you know, climb up your ass where I belong. He even yells across the goddamn field like, I can't come out, guys. I'm working out with my dad. And then I just wanted someone to yell back like, who gives a fuck? Now we check in on Elijah, who, needless to say, he's in a hospital recovering. A doctor's just breaking down his new list of injuries that's just gonna keep him wheelchair bound for like a year plus or some shit. You could tell this man's in so much pain, but he don't care. He does not care about what the doctor's saying. He is just hyper focused on that one thing. David was right about the goddamn gun. Audrey ends up being Elijah's physical therapist. Yeah, small world, eh? Of course, this is all just to get info on David and etc. You know, Elijah's life is just pain and misery. And, you know, even if you don't want to, you start to feel for this man. I mean, you know, he clearly needs other types of help besides, you know, physical. There's a lot going on with this character. So once he tells David that he was right about the gun, David decides to go out and test his powers. Not kidding, people. He walks into a train station and just reaches his arms out and starts touching people. Yikes. This power, this ain't gonna be really effective today. On day one, you reach out and touch strangers, clink. But yes, people, for the sake of the movie, he can just touch you and he gets a glimpse of what I guess your most worst sin is. You know what I mean? So if you committed murder, or in some cases coming up, or actively committing murder, he even ends up bumping into M. Night Shyamalan himself. And this person who end up becoming later on the goddamn antagonist of the movie. This fucking guy is already dressed like a convict. So, you know, when you see the orange jumpsuit, immediately there's some red flags, right? I guess that's more visual storytelling, but I always thought that was just a little too on the nose. I'm okay with him approaching that person, but David, did you just walk up to the one Indian guy in the crowd, single him out, and accuse him of drug possession? Not a good look, buddy. You might want to start with the white and then build to the brown. At least, you know, you might get away with it a little more. Whew, people, after that shit, we get another fucking incredible scene, okay? Let me set it up here. Audrey and David are having breakfast in the kitchen or whatever. Joseph walks in with David's gun, and fuck, it's loaded. Yes, people, this scene is played so well, but also goofy as hell at points. I laugh my ass off at the dialogue here. And I quote, "Friends don't shoot each other. And we were just becoming friends, Joseph." Like, I don't think that's it. I think if I was staring death in the face like he is, that's not the line I'm gonna use.
Joseph, what the hell are you doing?
Oh my God. You don't believe. I'll show you. You can't get hurt.
And friends listen to each other. They don't shoot each other. Do they, Audrey?
No shooting friends, Joseph.
But somehow that works, and the subterfuge goes away. They take the gun, and they just have a moment to just gather themselves and cry it out. Oh yeah, people, remember that job interview that David was going to NY for? He ends up getting the job. So just as he and Audrey are starting to, you know, rekindle the fire, things get complicated once again. Elijah, the goddamn super genius, he's able to deduce that David is unbreakable, but he has one weakness for sure: water. I had almost drowned a few times, okay? And not to my parents' fault or anything like that. I was with other people. Just before turning 30, I had a goal of learning how to swim, which I saw, conquered. Watching this movie today, this shit hits differently. But as a kid, man, I related so much to this, and it used to scare the fuck out of me. Next time you see David, he's rocking that badass poncho. Looks like some shit out of I Know You Did Last Summer. David reflects on that horrible car crash that I mentioned earlier that he and Audrey survived. It turns out, people, during the crash, Aubrey was knocked out for most of it. I'm telling you that because we find out that David ripped the car door off. I mean, he's showing some superhuman strength even back then. And once again, people, although he looks like he's not doing too well, it turns out he's okay. He faked an injury, people, and he faked it for love. His love of Audrey kind of took him away from this thing he loved to do as well. He basically had to choose between, you know, the person he'll spend the rest of his life with or what he would spend the rest of his life doing. And, well, you know, hey, I get it. Love won. Unfortunately, that left a hole in David. So, you know, up until now, he's just now learning how to feel it. And that's one of my favorite things about this movie, this story, this character. Somehow, though, it kind of does piss me off, even with all those positive things said. How the fuck are you just now piecing this together? You're in your, like, mid-40s for crying out loud, dude. Did you fucking forget? I just never understood that. But whatever, people. We're gearing up for the third act. Let's do this shit. Okay, people, forgive me really quickly, though. I know that I neglected to mention what David saw when he bumped into the guy in the orange jumpsuit. I failed to mention that for a reason, okay? What he saw was that this guy is a goddamn murderer, kidnapper, and possibly worse. I mean, we don't know his entire plan. We see that he just breaks into these people's house, kills the parents, and then just ties up the two kids for God knows what. Yeah, fuck that. That's when he calls Elijah. He's like, yeah, bitch, I faked the injury. I've never been sick. Fuck you. He comes clean about it all. And that's when Elijah tells him to go do his thing. Yes, people, Elijah is properly setting himself up as the iconic guy in the chair. David's the brawn doing the field work. Elijah's back at the base, coming up with the plans. Man, we're setting up for some shit in these sequels. Wait till we get there. Now, I don't know the guy in the orange onesie's name, but this guy is just evil, okay? There's just no way around it. They kind of just rush him into the story because we need someone for David to fight. I get it. It may be lacking to some, but for me, I thought it was okay. Even to this day, I still love this. So David walks in the house, saves the kids, beats the hell out of the guy. Of course, I'm skipping so much because once we're at this point, I feel like this is something you should probably experience for yourself. But let me tell you, it does not go swimmingly for David, or in a way it kind of does. Once again, y'all, I mentioned his weakness was water. So once we get into the sequels, I'm just gonna flat out spoil all that. But for now, I want to preserve some of this for, possibly, first time viewers of the movie, or, first time viewers of the channel. I can't help it. I want to keep this going just a little bit longer, I'm sorry, people. I'm selfish like that. Long story short, people, when things get really ugly for David, luckily he saved those two kids because they come back and they help him. And it's just a sweet little exchange. There's not a lot said. Just, it's good shit here, man. Damn. Somehow I find myself asking, hey, David, why not just call 911? You got a hot tip, a hot unanimous tip at that. Like, there's a murderer here who's dressed like a convict. He really stands out. 2 dead bodies and 2 kids upstairs. Go get them. Get the fuck over here! Anyways, no, it didn't go down like that because David must have his hero moment. So much so that even the next scene we see him, he picks Audrey up out of the goddamn guest bedroom or whatever. And Superman carries her upstairs and she's just so tiny in his big arms. I mean, it's kind of romantic. Damn well he tore that ass up that night. Another thing I need to point out was the final scene for Joseph. He and David have this awesome scene where there's no dialogue, but there's so much said. Damn, man, it's getting me right now, seeing this kid crying like, I was right. After that, David decides, all right, me and Elijah, we need to establish a few things. The relationship is a little rocky at first, but we got a bright future ahead. So he goes to Elijah's, art installation or gallery, whatever it is. I want to mention his mother, Mrs. Price, is also there. She mentions something really interesting about, heroes and villains. We'll get into it. David thanks and, he congratulates Elijah on helping David work through this difficult time. He found out who he truly was. That, basically these two kind of completed each other, and they came when both were possibly at their most low. So it's very vital and just crucial storytelling. These two are just like two sides of the same coin. They're full-on buddies, and once again, people, I'm looking forward to their further adventures in these sequels until they shake hands. Woo! M. Night Shyamalan, you son of a bitch, you. And I don't mean this in a bad way, actually. This is a great fucking moment here. For those of you who had not seen this movie, this is a big fucking spoiler. Elijah is the one who caused the goddamn train accident from the intro. This man has caused several atrocities. He is a legit mass murderer, a psychopath, a villain. Yes, Samuel Jackson is playing the villain here, which is why I brought out GTA San Andreas. If you don't know, he's the voice of Officer Tenpenny, so I figured that would be a nice little Easter egg to put in the video. I'm also adorned by a bunch of other Samuel Jackson and Bruce Willis movies of varying quality. So yeah, people, I've mentioned how the guy in the onesie was the antagonist. But he's not the villain of this story. Oh no. Classic misdirect. It's not this guy. It's this guy, Mr. Glass. Perfect. And that closing dialogue from Samuel Jackson, I ain't gonna lie, man, it hurts. It is painful to hear. And instead of reaching a proper solution of just, maybe fading to black and then credits, oh no, people. Freeze frame, and we got to put some text on the screen that explains what happened next. And it kind of cuts away from the tension a little bit. It's a damn near perfect movie. Even so, with that's a flaw. It's not enough to hurt it. It's painful to know that this guy I was kind of rooting for, even though he's a little off and, unsettling. Don't get me wrong, but this guy murdered en masse to find one person. And I don't know, people. It's something brutal about that. It's cold. I can't shake it 25 years later. I still think this is M. Night Shyamalan's best film to this day. And yes, people, I already reviewed Signs, and in that video, I claimed how that was one of the best ones as well. The Happening, also reviewed that one. Love this movie for a completely different reason. And as of today, I'm gonna watch this movie, After Earth, which I just received in the mail. So this one makes me nervous. I'll keep it real. I'm thinking about doing a possible shit show review for this. We'll see, depending on how bad it is. I just remember Jaden Smith's horrible acting, so stay tuned. No matter what I say about M. Night Shyamalan and his career, I could never take away that Unbreakable means the world to me. Now that the hype for, comic book and superhero movies are kind of dying down, I think this one will stand out and overall stand the test of time, but hey, we'll see. Unmistakably, Unbreakable will get the rating of New Religion, okay? Yeah, as if you had to doubt it. This is one of the few times this year I've given out that rating, so trust me, I don't say it lightly. But with that being said, people, I think it's time to wrap up the video. I love this movie. I had such a great time talking about it with you. If you could just do me a favor, leave a like, comment, subscribe, do all the algorithm shit and help me out. I really appreciate it. Maybe later on, once I film the reviews for Split and Glass, maybe I'll just make this one long Shyamalan video. Who knows? Time will tell. With that being said, people, cue the outro. Hey, it's me again, the guy from the thing you just watched. Feel free to check out one of the two videos on your screen currently speaking. You can't go wrong with either or. Thank you so much. This time it's for real. Deuces.